4. We're live. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm one of your panelists on this particular platform. We're glad to have you join us tonight at our 194th program. And I'll just turn over the program to our special guest and chairman for tonight, Miss Pitts, Sharon Pitts. So there you go, Miss Pitts. It's all yours, Mom.
Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad, compatriots, friends of Belize, brothers and sisters, uncle, aunts, grandpa, granny, comadre, compadre, makume, compatriots. We're very happy. This is 10 September, leading on to Independence Day. But before I go further, I'm reminded that God's goodness gave this land to us to honor and to love. In the words of the patriot, believe it was E.P. York, I'll ask one of the gentlemen, I am guest host, I believe, not veteran. So I'll ask Mr. Leonard Brackett and Mr. Wade, Mr. Roody Wade. I'm really assigning you to say the prayer, start with prayers as you usually do, one of you, and then the other in turn. Grace us with a reading from the Holy Bible. And I believe that will set the pace and keep us within the confines of what we should not get out of. Thanks.
Uh, Thank you
Go ahead,
very much,
Leonard.
Madam Chairman, Ms. Sharon Pitts, for gracing us with your presence tonight and for doing us the honor of sharing tonight's program. My name is Leonard Brackett, as I said before, and I'll take the opportunity to offer a short word of prayer if you allow me to bow my head. Divine, loving Father, once again we come before thy presence, asking thee that thou would continue to abide with us, guide us, strengthen us, give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Help us that we may have the fortitude to be able to speak truth to power if need be, and whatever we say may it accrue to the benefit and well-being of our country and people of Belize. We pray that thou mayest continue to bless Belize, its people and leadership, that thou mayest bless this country of the United States, its people and its leadership, that thou may also bless the rest of humanity in a special way, especially those people who have need of food, clothes, shelter, and who are suffering all manner of disasters because of wars, rumors of wars, tornadoes, hurricanes, and all other devastation, loving Father. Please be merciful unto them as well. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Back to you, Madam Chairman.
Madam Chairman,
Thank you.
I will do a reading, and it's always a pleasure, Madam Chairman, to sit in your company.
Yes, sir,
And
Mr. Wade.
and
Thank
I,
you.
I thank you for accepting this invitation to chair our show tonight. Um, you're honored, and I will be asking you in the other times to please, chair some more time to chair our show for us, because you bring truth to the nation, and you call it, Madam Chairman, as to how you see it, and you're a true patriot, and you are about people, a nation. So I thank you, and I'm honored to sit in your company.
You're
So,
going to put up with me. You all have a lot of patience. But
so
please sort of reading, the most
thank you,
important
thank you.
reading from
I
the
will,
mountains.
um, I will do a reading. I'll continue from Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, 1 to 10. It says, "Who is like the wise? and and who knows the interpretation of things. A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face is changed. I say, keep the king's command because of God's oath to him. Be not hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand in an evil case, for he does whatever he pleases. For the word of the king is supreme, and who may say to him, what are you doing? Whoever keeps a command will know no evil things, and the wise heart will know the proper time and the just way. For there is a time and a way for everything, although man's trouble lies heavy on him. For he does not know what is to be. No man has power to retain the spirit, or power over the days of death. There is no discharge from war, nor will wickedness deliver those who are given to it. All this I observe while applying my heart to all that is done under the sun. When man had power over man to his hurt, then I saw the wicked buried. They used to go in and out of the holy place, and were praised in the city where they had done such things. This also is vanity, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily. The heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. That's my reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 8, 1 to 10. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brackett, for the prayer. And thank
You're
you,
welcome,
Mr.
Mama.
Roody Wade, for the reading. I want to welcome and acknowledge the Belizeans and others at home and abroad who have been steadfast fans and listeners to this Belizean Affairs program. I want to say, Mr. Wade, that I really don't have words enough to express my respect and thankfulness that this particular, I don't know if it's a podcast broadcast to promote, but the conversation and what you do, the discourse to examine Belizean affairs, to be a voice for the people of Belize at home and abroad, to be advocates for the country of Belize, and your consistency to the point that you're nearly at the 200th broadcast. Mr. Brackett Greg is not here yet, but I want to say that I try to follow in footsteps that you have led, and you are the committed and the definite and the sure and steadfast. Permit me to welcome, I'm not a dignitary, but as a Belizean who resides at home, all the countless scores of Belizeans and others, Belizeans who have brought friends, extended family, people who have adopted Belize as their place of choice to visit in this September season. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It builds up our enthusiasm. It keeps a blaze of patriotic fervor. But most importantly, to you, Mr. Leonard Brackett, this I hope will be a homecoming that will be a blessing to you and to others. Yesterday, I managed to see Mr. Nicholas Sanchez as well, and he had to leave back same day.
Wow.
While we keep the fort at home, physically present, Belizeans abroad have forged and galvanized and uplifted the spirit with fierce determination and truth and contribution that is invaluable, incalculable, not just monies being sent back, but most importantly, you have been on the forefront of defending beliefs with your brains, your attitude, your work ethic, your representation of the goodness and humanity and goodwill of Belizeans to the world. I stop now, and as chair, I will ask and invite that perhaps tonight we could pay focus on the heritage and history of these September celebrations, particularly the Battle of St. George's Key. And I dare say, and I dare disclose, short of boasting, that in 1928, a book was published in British Honduras titled Shoulder to Shoulder. In it, my grandfather had a 34 stanza epic poem about the Battle of St. George's Key, and it was the battle and the flag. And let me just introduce you all by saying that adopting some of what he wrote, 10 September 1798 was about the battle and the flag of Belize as it then was. 21st September 1981 was about the Battle of St. George's Key and the flag of Belize as it now is. Gentlemen, lead on.
Uh, may I take the first jump, Madam Chairman, and also to iterate or to clearly state that were there not a Battle of St. George's Key, there would not have been an independent Belize today. So
Amen.
that's for those who are skeptic about the thought that because they weren't there and involved in the battle, that they should have no reason or rhyme to recognize or accept the premise that there were a battle. Secondly, Belize was an independent entity. I wouldn't say a country, I wouldn't say a republic, as these Kongs wants us to make it into. And I wouldn't even say independent state, because back then, even though we exercise the power of vote as a democratic entity, where people used to vote who used to own lands, women used to vote, and some people have the idea that we only got our voting powers in 1957 as a result of the universal suffrage exercise. But long, many years, 100 and odd years before then, Belize women and men were exercising the power and the freedom to vote and decide how they will manage their affairs. As for example, we have the account of the um, Flowers Bank 14, who were just 14 among the many others who participated in deciding that they will fight to defend their country after they had fought many a times before and in some instances had lost. And some of them went into the hinterlands of Belize, at that time the British colony, and others went to Honduras, others went to Ratan, others went to Bluefield, others went to the Black River settlements, others went to
Yes.
Jamaica, and I'm just making little tidbit references to historical facts that are well documented as regards to those who want to perpetrate a fraud against us, to say that because there was not a Battle of St. George's Caye account to them and they have not read or want to read or want to know, they just want to presuppose that if we don't have a way of claiming that we defeated our enemy and our enemy never did return after that last battle to lay any further claims to this or heritage of Belize, that now we should have no basis for claiming that we have a right to exist on this piece of land. Therefore, we should just allow the Guatemalans them to come in and take advantage of the situation. And since they have uh, agreed to collude to get us to dispense with the British and anything British, so that the Guatemalans can then have us as a defenseless papa to prey on, so that they can achieve their objective, which is to take Belize into their jurisdiction either as a 23rd district or as a vassal state compliant to Guatemala's shenanigans. We have them at the Sarstoon bullying our people, our civilians, bullying our Coast Guard and our BDF personnel when they try to go up the Sarstoon River to their basic post, the observation post along the joint border between Belize and Guatemala. And then we also have some of our own so-called leaders. Apparently this phrase of so-called is becoming preeminent as a phrase when referring to anything Belizean. So-called this, so-called that, so-called the other, so-called Battle of St. George's Caye, so-called, these charlatans and jackals and hyenas and vultures and people who dismiss all rights of claim to ownership of this place long before Guatemala became independent. Spain did not even recognize Guatemala as an independent country for 40 odd years after it claimed its independence. All that time, Britain and Spain had already signed multiple agreements and treaties to which Guatemala was not a party and could not stipulate any conditions in those treaties other than the treaty that they decided to make with the British in regards to the territorial boundaries of our country in order for them to have peace, so that they didn't end up losing more lands than they would have normally. As a matter of fact, we gave them back some of the lands because there was a buzz of colonials in the Petén area far beyond Melchor, and there was a bunch of people in the southern part of Belize all the way out into Livingston and all that piece of land that comprises the Coban area from Livingston going all the way back to our border. We gave it back as part of the peace treaty in order for them, the Guatemalans at that time, to feel that their border would be safe. 100 and odd years now after the fact, they are now pretending that, well, because they know we don't have their population size, we don't have their size of military or military assets and capabilities. They are now trying to bully us and try to get us into a situation where they can claim that, well, we were the cause of whatever instigated conflict we will end up with them on. They will not cease and desist until they have a conflict. Because even though we are the ICJ on a false pretext and premise,
Yes.
they're still aggressing us. They're not waiting for the outcome. They're hell bent in taking and keeping the Sarstoon under their control. They come all the way over on our side of the river, which they know and acknowledge is a boundary line, and they come and hit their military boat against civilian dories and other boats to try and break them or turn them over, just harassment. I know knuckleheaded so-called prime minister, because I like the idea that they started this issue about a so-called battle of St. George's Sea and a so-called this and a so-called that. I'm entitled also to use that same phrase then, right? And to classify them as so-called, because they're not actual. They're behaving as if they're a captured agent working on behalf of foreign interests, not on behalf of us, whose salary is being paid by us. So for all intents and purposes, we should have been celebrating our Independence Day on a day that was significant to us, not a day that had no significance to us other than the fact that, well, it was chosen to be the date, and a date that was actually intended as a hidden connivance in actually revering and glorifying Guatemala's claim to independence.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. If
You're welcome,
I could
Sharon.
have Mr. Wade
Thank
start
you.
with his opening.
Thank you, Miss Bliss, Madam Chair. You know, as you says, we're in our celebratory month, and you wish all Belizeans, both at home and abroad, to celebrate responsibly, and the celebration that we know about, seems like it's dwindling. Not much happening, in terms of that patriotism. I observed some words coming out of the Pablo Kawich, the new mayor, PUP new mayor in Belmopan, and I listened to his words. Um, Not patriotic. Um, like it seems like they could care less. It's just business as usual. It makes me wonder. What are they there for? You listen to the news media, the some of the individuals. They talk about it's a myth. It never did happen.
May I please, Mr. Wade, thank you.
Go ahead,
What
Madam
we
Chair.
must focus on, hopefully, and present in a very clear way is, you have gentlemen like Mr. Francis Humphreys and others who have challenged some of those who have come up with certain derisions to debate. Some who call themselves historians, but it seems that they run and hide. Let me start by saying, and I will want to quote, but if I can remind me to come back, I'm the chair, so I'm not to abuse this position. But let me say that in 1943 or so, and we have, and I will quote from a speech which was given at the opening ceremonies of a 10 September celebrations. And you will see the characteristic of those who are coming forward in whatever guise. But the history is very clear. The archives of British Honduras, the archives of Spain, Jamaica, America, clearly, well documented with respect to the authenticity and the battle and the details and the specifics of the Battle of St. George's Key, the history of this country. Spain as a country which was defeated, and it was an external armada coming to attack a people within the country, the Bay, Keymen, Baymen, Pork and Dough Boys, Battle of Pork and Dough Boys, the Battle of St. George's Key is well well established. I will read something to show that just at the time you will connect the dots that the unfounded claim came, the agent of that enemy country started to utter the myth theory. Mr. Brackett mentioned the ICJ. You will see in the way the question is put, they seek to exclude the Battle of St. George Sea. Because anybody who would seek to deny and derail your country's history, they're an agent of,
Enemy. Enemy.
they're a Queensland, fifth columnist, agent of destruction of your country.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say this very clearly. You want to go back to history? Let us start. Back in the days, if any child or young person or elder listening, you never have internet or social media. But what you had when any armada went into battle or any flotilla or any man of war, any soldiers, you had your historian, a diarist. And the history will show. Look at Molina Solis and look at Vergara. Captain Arturo O'Neill, assisted by his second Boca Negra, led the invading Spanish Armada.
Mm-hmm.
On
History.
that Armada was their diarist, the Spanish diarist, and his handwritten manuscript. Not speak, record the Battle of St. George's Sea. Take it from the mouth and direct first-hand evidence of the
Amen.
very imperial nation that was defeated. And then you want to go further. All the records from our country showed preparation for war, previous attempts to dislodge the settlers. Somebody sent to me today and said, oh, you know, you had Mayans involved. Yes, there was the Battle of Yalbak.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish
Right.
Lookout had its fortress. Yes, there was battle at Spanish Lookout and fortifications. Yes, you had wars before and so. Even if an ex-Hyde who likes to play around had written in about 1985 with respect to the Battle of St. George's Key. You cannot legislate art. No other quote event in the history of the settlement had such an impact. And any would-be invaders and prey never came back. And it speeded up manumission and emancipation, and that the body of poetry. Look at the poems written by people. You have Martinez, you have Ablin's March, Jesuit, you have uh, Acosta to this day, well documented. And then you have the dispatches. But what is most beautiful are records here, and Mr. Brackett, you mentioned it. Right at the public meeting, we were voting, so it was not an imperial decision from England, and that's what's so beautiful. All people decided in the public meeting, high drama. But prior to that, when the invaders came, or would be people, a small amount to dislodge, and they captured, they marched them north over Campeche into the dungeons of Finca Rica, Cuba. And those who lived to tell the tale, including Thomas Potts, children were born there. Their records are in the first modern day census of belief within the Anglican Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
Our history will not be denied. And I want to say, because somebody asked me, and I figure left unto himself, and trip himself. But since you mentioned the man who would be me, I don't even know his name. Let me dedicate something to him which somebody wrote 1945. One's mind is much exercised to comprehend the mental constitution of the person who conceives that there might have been in 1798 such a nefarious conspiracy of persons and circumstances, calculating to impose on the credulity of people 147 years after.
Later.
If you look at this just around 1944-45, same time the myth came, and enough living people are in Belize to tell you who was the agent of that enemy state. And these were the words, but anybody who understands that in short read I say, the person must be mad, something wrong with the mente, and you know what? Dismiss that person. Because you not come 147 years after, and now this would have make it one another 50, about 70 odd years after,
200
200 and odd years after the Battle of St. George's Key with this. And then poetry not good enough for them people, but let me use a bit of poetry and whip and castigate and chide and rebuke. You remember the poem? Reads there a man with soul so dead, who never of his country said. Word to the effect, this is my land, my native home. And I will say to the so-called mayor and his minions, and anybody who represents that, Belize doesn't need you. We don't need you. Exit. Go Dr. Zeus way by train, plane, carriage, whatever. Go and serve whoever else you're loyal to. Treachery is not to be tolerated. You will not joke about this. And you know what? We prefer a handful of people who are patriotic, nationalistic, respectful of our history. I can go on and on. My grandfather further wrote, and I'll dedicate this. He was a man polite. He was a man who was constrained by his Methodism. Never used to curse bad words. I'll say this part. And for my part, to the stranger, the craven and ignoble wretch, the craven and ignoble wretch, who accepting our hospitality, fails to discover any redeeming feature in our country or its people, and not content with abusing and speaking only to our disparagement, insinuate that the glorious story, history of our forebears is a myth or a legend or a fiction or romance or a lie. I shall manifest my unmistakable resentment and indignation. A resentment and indignation short perhaps of violence, but unmitigated by a oft-abused charity and undisguised by a wanted courtesy and civility. In other words, I'm not a man who fights. I fought in World War I against a common enemy, fought for freedom for British Honduras and the world. I was Secretary of War in 1945 for British Honduras. But when it comes to this country, and there's much, 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 much more, he goes, if I may read this, but I really cannot go into all of it. I have to pick. St. George's Key is no myth, no legend, no fiction, no romance, no lie. The Battle of St. George's Key is as authentic as the Battle of Trafalgar, the Battle of Waterloo, or the Battle of El Alamein. And for my part, and I read that already, he went on to say that, and he said, why do we celebrate the Battle of St. George's Key? He said, if you were to look at a map, and I'm paraphrasing, you will see our history as British Honduras belongs in a special way, apart from the British Empire in that time, peculiar and unique way. British Honduras belongs to us. And he meant the people. Take a map of the world. Mark the countries usually colored to indicate that they form part of the British Empire. Then consult your history books to discover the various ways in which they were acquired. Some were conquered in expeditions of the army or the navy. Some were acquired by treaty, some by settlement, some by purchase. Unique and singular among them is British Honduras. British Honduras was not conquered by the British Army or the British Navy. The king signed no charter for its colonization. No minister or diplomat negotiated its purchase. No, our own ancestors, the baymen, keymen, black man, white man, the master, the slave, all must be counted and listed and brave as brave. In despite of England and in defiance of Spain, entered and occupied this country, felled the trees, cleared the forest, sacrificed, struggled, fought the enemy. The external enemy was the enemy of the people who were in common love for Belize and bled and died, and by their pluck, their daring, their courage, their defiance, and their determination and tenacity triumphed over the invading external Spaniards and won for the king the empire, and above all for us, their descendants, this fair country of ours, to which we must dedicate ourselves and pledge anew our loyalty.
Madam
There's more,
Chairman?
much, much more. I want to say, Mr. Brackett, I'll get back to you, please.
That's
Sorry.
fine. That's fine.
Um,
That's all right.
Mr. Brackett,
That's all right.
you
Go
can
ahead.
go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, I would like to specifically point out that I've been repeating these statements that we are now reading out of the record from for a long, long time. Anybody who has been paying attention to what I've been advocating and saying would see in the records, because I consider it a matter of record, all those stipulations that have been recorded, I have done so with the intent that they remain for posterity, for our contemporaries as well as posterity. And I want to say, for those who don't know, and those who propagate this concept that believes black people, in specific, supposed to hate the British white people because we were brought here as indentured slaves, and probably according to them as of today date, we're still slaves. And they fail to know and learn or understand, just as you read just now, from the records, by the way, not just my speculating as I said before, but directly from the records, that Belize is the one, not Belize, it wasn't Belize then, and it just became Belize recently. But the Bay Colony and the Bay colonists, the Bay men, the free men, because they were free black people at that. Some of them had lands. They were voters, such as the 12 out of the 14 from Flowers Bank and many others. They were not the only one. There were women who had the right to vote and who had decision-making powers. And when we had the potential invasion of the colony by Spaniards, again, they had done it, like I said before, in a few occasions, and in one particular occasion was successful when they took those people to Cuba. We decided that, okay, we will stand and fight, and it was thereafter that we stood and fought and won that Battle of St. George's Key, that we then invited the British to stay and provide for us the level of guarantee, because of their military might then, that the Spaniards could not contend with. The Guatemalans were fearful of. The Mexicans, they were hoping that the British would have helped them to regain their territory and conquer back what the Spaniards had taken from them. And so, for many reasons, for those who look at history and read and understand and know the historical contents of facts, they will see that the British did not come and conquer Belize, just as you had mentioned earlier, Ms. Pitts, that Belize wasn't a conquered era by the British. The British only assisted to provide security guarantees for those Bay people that live here in Belize and in Vanaka and Guanaca and Trujillo and Rattan and Bluefields and all these other places, the Black River settlements and Jamaica and all these other places. We asked the British to come and we also asked them to leave. The British did not come on their own just to say, well, conquer Belize, otherwise they'd have conquered the Bay people who were already here.
And if I may, Mr. Brackett,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
see with the ICJ and the right to this country of the people, no decision was made to fight the Battle of St. George's Key by England. It was not imperial. As you said, just like 1765 at St. George's Key, we had women voting. Belize had a lot of historical firsts.
Right?
Free blacks voting.
Mm-hmm.
1797, 1st of June, the decision made here at the public meeting, which was of parliament.
Right?
And then the British sent back up with the Merlin, the Towser, Teaser, Tickler, and so on. But what is of crucial importance, and Belizeans better stop playing the fool and understand what is under attack, is that no England, no Spain, no Tara country, no regime enemy to the west, because if you claim my country with an unfounded claim, I will call you out as that, because we are peace-loving people, we're a symbol of democracy, but we love our country and we band together in defense. So the right to this country, the title, the God-given right, history has recorded, and it's powerful history. When you look at historians worldwide, they might take two historical references to establish something beyond hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go on and on. I want to ask Mr. Wade, please, Mr. Brackett. I don't know if Mr. Greg has joined us. I think he has. We see a coat of arms
he can come in on the
shadowing in.
break.
Yes, thank you. Good night, Mr. Greg. So
Right,
I don't
Greg.
know if you want to weigh in right now or contemplate, but I want to ask Mr. Wade because he had the singular honor of hoisting as a Belize defense soldier. And even the motto today, shoulder to shoulder, comes right from the victory, the black men, the coat of arms from the Battle of St. George's Key. Mr. Wade,
Thank you.
by way of military strategy, somebody was telling me just the other day, well, you know, they have so many millions of people who will fight. I said that wars are not won by legion. Our history shows us that. What?
I still hear in the background, Steve, and I listen to you passionately speaking
Can you
about
speak up a
our village.
little more, Mr. Greg? I'm not hearing well. I don't know if the others are hearing or if it's your mic.
I'm hearing.
I had sat down in the back here, and I listened to you passionately. I listened to you passionately talking about the joy and the battle of solidarity. I want to say that even though we are apart from someone who does not want to recognize, who is believing that our independent or Battle of St. George's is a myth, I want to say that we've been to that play last night and the love I gave to Jamaican who was discussing nothing but praises for our country.
Yes,
And I look back at how Jamaica wanted to stand up and defend Belize's independence if it meant going to war.
yes,
And I'm also looking at how we as Belizean and our government, who is a member of CARICOM, has treated these people with no dignity because of the love to protect foreign entities' borders. I look at it as ludicrous. And then I listen to the Prime Minister and what he had to say about the incursion in the Sarsoon. And I want to say this, being a Prime Minister and you're always telling yourself, you are telling your enemy that you only have 1,000 troops. No, imagine. But I want to say to him that
The treachery,
we,
the pattern of betrayal continues, and I will
I
call it
want,
out.
I
We don't
want
have
to
any
say,
sensibility right now. When your country is under all this, we have to speak our perspective and speak our truth and call into question and challenge and chastise and checkmate those who would seek to serve the interests
Mr.
of
Before I
anybody else
continue, let
except
me
Belize.
let me play this piece of tape before I end my statement to show the people at home and abroad how ludicrous our Prime Minister is.
Yesterday, you saw the 226th anniversary of the so called Battle of St. George's Key. The history of the 1798 event remains in dispute, as do the origins of the observance of the battle.
Now, I play that piece of tape, and it's a shame when we have intelligent people as newscasters and nobody's calling them out for their stupidity. I want to say to the Belizean people, our Prime Minister is in denial. Why is he in denial? Because Belize is an independent country through by partialness, and we are backed by billions of people out there in the Commonwealth. So when he wants to speak about we don't have nobody to protect us, trying to flirt that the British will not come and defend us, Mr. Prime Minister, your eyes is under the west. We are a Commonwealth country. Let's think and act within our crown. Stop trying to mislead the people with a new identity when you all have learned scholars in Parliament and the House who knows how our independence was gained, what it stands for, and who are our protectors. I pass it back to you, Mr.
Yes, Mr. Wade,
Madam Chair,
please.
Madam Chair,
Yes, yes, Mr. Brackett.
can I just interject one little point there quickly
Go
in
ahead,
addition to what
please.
Greg had just said? That is to say that that young lady that he played the tape of is supposed to be, according to the newscasting and the news reporting entities, someone who's supposed to have some influence over the people them that they are broadcasting that information to. I don't know if I must fault that young lady for being unaware, as you are saying in Creole, ignorant about the things that she was speaking to with such eloquence in regards to so-called.
I don't think it's
Wait, wait,
eloquent.
wait, wait, Miss, Miss, wait, wait,
I
wait,
would
wait,
use
wait,
that
wait, wait,
word.
Miss Chairman, Miss Chairman, please give it,
Yes, sir,
bear
go
with me,
ahead.
please bear with me, please tolerate my insolence. But I don't know, I'm trying not to
With
be,
insolence,
wait, wait,
not eloquence.
wait,
That
okay.
newscaster spoke with the pattern insolence.
What
Thanks.
happened? The young lady is being taught to convey a certain concept which the politicians on both sides of the aisle, by the way, have been teaching the people to pursue, which lines up with the agenda of them falling asleep and not recognizing that they are being bamboozled. That young lady is talking to history and issues that she has no knowledge about. And people listening to her here in Belize, for example, are tending to believe that she's a credible person. Therefore, whatever she's saying must
I
be
don't
so.
think anybody
But wait,
believes
let
she's
me.
a credible person. I think people
I'm
recognize
trying
the
to rise to a
pattern
crescendo,
of
Madam
the
Chair.
agenda
Yes, but Madam Chair, I'm
and
trying
the
to rise to a crescendo.
presentation of that.
Uh, what I'm saying is that what she said is outright fabricated nonsense, for lack of another way of saying it without having to be insulting or overbearing. I know what I'm talking about, the young lady does not, and therefore, because I know what I'm talking about and she does not, or maybe she knows better, but she's just doing what she's being paid for to do, and it's contingent on her job. There are many different possibilities, but my point that I'm trying to establish or say, which I was supposed to have made short, because I begged for the opportunity to make a quick sentence. The fact is that the young lady is calling a historical fact so-called. And that is the paradigm that these people are advocating and preaching. That what we, those who read history and learn and understand and believe in our history, because a lot of things is written down as history that is not really history. That, yes, we can argue back and forth, you know, till the dawn come. The fact is that she's speaking to something and denigrating something that she has no first hand or second hand or third hand, no knowledge about. And it's unfortunate because she reflects many of our learned kids who are going now to university and presumably are learning the wrong thing and the wrong ideas, wrong concept, wrong history. With an agenda that is to make Belize into a compliant vassal state of Guatemala at the end of the day.
The
Either,
pattern of betrayal
exactly. And I
continues.
yield back, ma'am.
And that is why, Mr. Brackett, thank you.
You're
I
welcome, madam.
referred to the historical sources from right at the Battle of St. George's Key, 1798, straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the diarist on the Spanish ship within the Armada under Captain Arturo O'Neill and Bocanegra, the diarist who spoke of their own defeat. And I want to ask then if I can go back to Mr. Wade. Mr. Wade, this I want to ask you as somebody who was in the BDF military man, and I will put it a bit like Socratic, put some things out, right? If you allow me, if this doesn't work and you prefer to just deliver, the floor is yours. One of the jokified, they will throw down some jokified things and expect them to gain purchase, right? Because people like scandal, they like jokiness, and they don't have discipline, right? Uh, they don't go into the history, can't go into the sources, and you have some political commentaries who masquerade as historians, but they cannot go into the original history. They cannot hold up to debate. They would run when they come forward, or if you invite them. They move like scoundrels back into their so-called commentaries. What I want to get to is that you had some used to say, oh, now me just pack and door boy stick. Well, guess what? Every time they decry the history by the grace of God, Belizeans will come forward with crucial analysis, history, and details. One such I'll share. A man explained, with the Battle of St. George, when you read, there was military martial law. There was a waiting, St. George's Sea, the corrals, the food stores, the turtle, the person who first, the Spaniards were trying to trick in that, well, if you separate the blacks, we will give you freedom, but they knew what it was under the Spaniards. It was worse, unmitigated, if it could be worse than whole slaves. Ask the Mayans that, the brothers and sisters. Ask any of the people that. Mayans fought too for the Battle of St. George's Key, American Indians, black men, white men, Bokra men. What I want to get to do is that you had natural defenses, you had Montego Shoals, we had home turf territory, you had discipline, the weight, the burning of some of the food stores and casks at St. George's Key. Then the Spaniards were tricking that they would come overland. You had near the Halova, the fort, Balcarres, Captain, I think he was Lieutenant Colonel Barrow, and they were sending mixed signals. So an expedition was sent out as though they would march down as they had before, different times, band of men. But this now was an armada, an expeditionary force like none before. And if you know history, you will know too that the British prevailed, reigned supreme, ruled Britannia at sea centuries ago against the Spaniards, against the French, or against the French and Spaniards combined. So we weren't playing around. And you had the Baymen Flats and Doris and so on, but I'll get to that too. What you had is that you had Captain Moss, who was the sea captain at St. George's Key. And people thought that he was just snorkeling and idling. But Captain Moss was sounding the shoals. So when the turtle fisherman, anybody who, and I came across it in environmental law, but we know colloquially, sea turtle fishermen. I was at Kikaka today and explaining to a young lady who came to Belize the first time. The sea turtle traverse. I have tracks and tag sea turtles as an environmentalist, and they travel across the sea and the ocean, but God gave them something that they will come back to the same spot and to their hatchlings. Now what you have is
sonar
that,
intelligence. They call
sorry?
it sonar
Sonar,
intelligence.
God
Right.
made. No artificial intelligence, God made sonar intelligence. Thanks, Mr. Brackett. So what you had, the person, the scout, they had scouts. And it was not just any fisherman. The details are there. As turtle fisherman, if you listen to how you have to fight and land large sea turtles back then, you have to be sturdy, you have to be agile, nimble, seafaring, and you have to know your way back or the turtles help you back. So they were scouted. The other thing is the Baymen's Flats, with the shoals and the muds and the terrain, those would traverse better, just like they could bring 100 feet logwood and mahogany out of the forest and on rocks and so on. The other thing is the Pocono boy. And I don't want to say too much of our strategy, right? You must know that not everything was good for you, good for talk. But one man tell me, Pocono boy in military strategy back then, indigenous, anybody get joke with a Pocono boy prickle?
Swallow.
But better than that, when they use the spears in the interior as fortifications, and they were always strategic defense. If you took the Pocono boy, which was plentiful material, you didn't have to import anything. These people were smart. They were within their home in the interior. You sharpen that stick, you point it, you make it points, and you fire it, and it hardens with tensile strength of iron, can be thrown. You know, people were fighting for millennia with spears. It can travel with accuracy. And in addition, if you set up the walls with it and you put them as stakes, horizontal, any invading person could be trapped
Impaled.
and impaled on it. And the others coming behind, sheer terror and warning, they would flee. With the Battle of St. George's Key, yellow fever. And the records are there. The Armada floundered. They didn't know the shoals and the cuts. And when the engagement was given, it wasn't from the British commander, The women and men of Belize, key men, black men, seamen, Pocando boys, Bokraman, Indian man, American Indian. They said engage. And the
Madam Chair,
last time, the culmination, the crescendo, they beat and ran the
Madam Chair,
armada,
they are,
defeated. Never in the history of the world, and we can claim world first for
Madam Chair,
this region.
Madam Chair,
And that is why after the Battle of St. George's Key, they did not come back. There was consolidation of territory. Our Garifuna brothers and sisters could in 1804 or so come here for this
peacefully.
tranquil haven of democracy. Others could come after, Asians, Lebanese, whoever. These people who sit in parliament must understand, but for Belize, they wouldn't be here, and you better be loyal to Belize or go back home. In
Madam Chair,
America, in 1723, we have these politicians and so-called diplomats begging, begging and groveling. We can with dignity to say to our United States of Mexico, to the North, brothers and sisters, they respect us. They respect our borders and our history. We can say to our United States of America, north of the border, our history shows. We don't need Emory King, the archives show, the records in Boston show. You can go to the old church, I've visited it. The pew is reserved for gentlemen of the Bay
on the bay.
because in 1723, the people of the Bay voted logwood and mahogany sales or receipt proceeds to support the effort of liberation there. And that same church that still sits in Boston Harbor was the same church from the wooden steeple reputed to be built with. Where was the best wood from the world exported? The Bay. The steeple where Paul Revere is reputed to have warned that the British were coming. But there's accuracy and a notion that it was a black man who rang the bell. And then in Boston Harbor, I toured it as a child and then as an adult about 7 years ago. Have you heard of Old Ironsides?
Mhm.
SS Constitution? It is called, and the
The
whilst my
Belizean
grandfather
ironwood.
wrote a
Belize
34
ironwood.
stanza epic to the Battle of St. George's Key, Oliver Wendell Holmes, a Chief Justice of the United States, wrote 4 stanzas to Old Ironsides. The legend was that when the British fired on it, the cannons bounced back. So it was thought would be made. It was in 30 something skirmishes, nimble made of wood, war strategy, nimbleness,
Belize
home turf.
ironwood. Madam Chair,
Belizeans, sorry,
Belize ironwood. We have a kind of wood what we call
Belize
ironwood. It's tougher
iron
than
wood.
anything you could find anywhere else in the world.
Let them sit down. Let us afford them a day. Let's invite the so-called journalists, the so-called news readers, the so-called naysayers and midsayers, those who want to clung. We are serious about the history and heritage and business of our country, Belize, and protecting Belize. You want to write history? You want to write forwards of commentaries who deny and decry our history? We don't claim to be historians. We claim to be loyal people of the Bay who can read and write and defend our country with brains so that we avoid blood. Some would say, show us the blood. Oh, nobody may get killed. Well, guess what? I understand in military strategy and when wars are boasted of and so on, the most brilliant war, the most brilliant defense of a country is when you can go on that campaign and if you're brave and you prevail and you can say, we did not spill our blood. So if we can't say that one blood, whether poetically or metaphorically spilled, guess what? We were even more successful. And,
On that point, Madam Chair,
and
one
I
thing.
will go to Thomas Greenwood. He was head of our Belize Defense Force. The men who went to Sandhurst, and they will tell you, jungle warfare, the girl has. Perkers, the best in the jungle training within Belize. But you don't tell the enemy the secret because they listen more than us. But I will tell you, the war model, the test case, the case study, Battle of St. George's Key is used by the best militia. The best militia. Am I wrong or am I right or am I right, Mr. Wade, the soldier?
Very right.
How
Very
do
right,
I
Madam.
come about this?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Madam
Because
Chair,
people walk and bring the history to you. Yes,
Mr. Wade,
Mr.
Mr. Wade, would you yield me a
Go
second to
ahead.
go
Go
there?
Mr.
ahead. Go ahead,
Brackett.
Leonard. Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
the
sir.
Battle of St. George's Key was not a battle that the Spaniards, with their galleons and all their thousands of soldiers and seamen and everything else that they brought with them, they got attacked. They were not expecting to be attacked, and that was the
Yes.
attack that they got in surprise, sent them into a tizzy and a frenzy and scared out of their wits. They were not the ones who attacked first. They got slicked out of their situation. They were the
Once they
more
came
powerful agent.
within or close to what would have been our territory,
Right.
Mr.
They did
Wade,
not expect to be
they
attacked.
were expelled. They were, Belize was defended
And you don't call it a war.
successfully.
But
And
that is
that
not
is
a war.
why the man of war, the Merlin,
So,
Mr. Wade,
thank you, Madam Chair,
Thank you, Mr.
for
Wade, for
such
giving me
a
this chance, sir.
I listened to what you read there historically, right? It brings as a ex-military, and I could have just put myself in that person shoe that was writing those records, right? um it hurts me to see that people that we call leaders would get up and grandstand and to the media and to the world and whoever watches them and to utter such nonsense,
and
right?
remember, sorry, and we must forever rebuke in no uncertain time. I know why it's important. Sorry, Mr. Wade. You know, when I used to mention the Island Declaration case, we are at a position where they're derailing our constitution. They feel like they will win, but as I said the other night, we
No
have
way.
enough Jamelians, and by the grace
No
of
way.
God, because on our side,
They will not prevail.
with God's help and goodness, and we must be ever thankful. The thing is that when we have leaders speaking this treachery and denying our history, you see how it ties in, it dovetails with the Guatemalan agenda, and I will not have the name of that regime pass my tongue again. I do not do so in our patriotic season. But you see, it was about the transition, and then they figured if not, they will root independence and then the transition. Don't ask me. Ask Captain Nicolas Sanchez when he was a leader of the Youth Union at Majestic Alley. Who said that? He has the God save him. He can speak person. You don't have to hear it from me. And if I may read something else from the very writing of this speech that was delivered. From there, we reach back to our ancestors and our patriots. We don't have to be perplexed. It's right there to rebuke these people. He went on to say, Roderick Augustus Spitz, that same spirit manifested itself in 1914 when some 500 of our men, amongst others, men from British Honduras, who amongst others still sleeps at Flanders Field. Flanders Field for people is, you know, the Puppet Day and war heroes who would have been buried at Flanders Field, but we say sleeps. Who still sleeps because they sleep honorable at Flanders Field. One who fell there in the battle in 1918. Listen to me carefully. One Captain Arthur Norman Usher, decorated a great grandson of a valiant great grandfather who fought at the Battle of St. George's Key. This is what British Hondurans and people of the Bay are made of. When we have to defend, we defend and we defeat and with bravery.
And
And
we
he goes
succeed.
on at a
And we
certain
succeed.
point
We
to
defend and succeed.
mention World War II and of the 30 men or so. Maybe I'll find it later. I want to yield again as, I'm the chair. I'm not to abuse. Imagine how many people in the flying forces got bravery medal. You can look in Cairo, Mr. Wade, on the wall at the court. Before the wretched take it down, they imprinted on the brass there, St. George's Key, a natural monument. Their lives at St. George's Key, you see a $5 bill, the wretches might destroy it and not reissue. But the sarcophagus of Thomas Potts, who was one of them saying we must evacuate and then come back when things quiet down. Thomas Paslow, yes, he beat and was cruel and was dealt with his slave girl for the handkerchief. But let us not throw the baby with the bathwater. He led the debate. He was a patriot. Paslow building the cannons. Mr. Brackett, what did he say? Mr. Leonard?
No, I don't recall.
A
Right
man
now,
who is not prepared to
to defend
defend
his
the
country is not
land, the country is not to reap the benefits. That is what we must say to the mayor of whatever his name is. And I even know of Belmopan, our capital, and you come with that. When people were saying they don't think they will have a celebration, I said to the St. George's Day Society, we must celebrate and commemorate. And the people will celebrate and commemorate. And the people commemorated and celebrated in Belmopan. And I will share this. Years and years ago, Mr. Emerson Gill and I, we were saying we will present something, history, with respect to the patriotism and nationalism. He used a model. He said, I see young people, certain things they don't see and so on and what. You know what came out of that? And we borrowed poetically, instead of a tale of two cities, a tale of two capital cities. We were saying St. George's Key and Belizean. Then we said we have a capital city, Belmopan. Then we said, look, even Caracol had a woman leader and recorded in Mayan tongue. It's the feet of Tikal, which was thought to be the prevailing. Belize was a preeminent Mayan city. Lamanai, the places, Olmec, black people, our history will not be denied. The marimba, the tamales. I had an African man at my office and I asked him, because when I tell people tamales, tamal is from Africa like Dokono. He wrote it down M-O-I, M-O-I, moi moi, and he explained you have it of corn with meat and with beans and with corn, and you have a leaf that is stiffer and shiny on one side than the plantain leaf, used for one of them, and another leaf used for another. Our history will not be denied. But you have racist people in Belize, and I'll call them out. If they were to do their DNA, it would expunge them. They don't want to admit. You see, when Dr. Awe gave his expert view, it is that the Creole indigenous to Belize. But you have some people who want to uproot and deny our history, and it's a racism, and I will not toy around. I will call it out. I'm not being politically correct anymore. One other thing I want to say, St. George's Key, we have the history. It's right there. They do the digs, right? Around there. And even SJC one time, I didn't go because of weather and I got sick the morning. But if you sung the shoals, if you go and sung the depths, the natural defenses, the channels, right? the relics, but not just relics, the historical references. Go to Yabra, the wretches were trying to destroy that. You have the tomb of Thomas Pasmo, a man, a magistrate, a man who gallantly fought. Next to him, you have Clarissa Pasmo. In Kaya, have the natural monuments. Thomas Pasmo might have been racist. You have some black people racist against black people in Belize. Because if you go the Moors of Spain, the Moors from Africa invaded Spain. So we're all one people. We're black, black, black. And black is beautiful. Black is the seat of civilization. Thomas Paslow, Clarissa Falls in Cayo, natural monument. His nephew erected his tomb is there, right south of the house number 15 or 16. But somebody was trying to break up even that. They're leaving it to destroy. That is historical record and monument. Thomas Potts' tomb, look at it, the sarcophagus unlike lion's feet. The face, the relief, ask them who have that,
Madam
which
Chair.
depicted Thomas Potts' face. And yes, he was voting to defend because we must have debate about our country. But we must be unified in love and loyalty. And when the vote of it was tied, and when they prevailed
If,
by the Flowers Bank 14, McAllen,
if I
Adam,
may
William, and
say
Caesar,
something, Madam Chair,
they were united in love of Belize and
if
defense,
I,
and they prepared and they were vigilant. There was the vote, the village vigil, the watch, the valiance, and the victory. Tell
Madam
them in
Chair,
60 seconds.
Madam Chairman,
Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
may
sir.
say something,
Mr. Brackett, Mr.
Mr. Wade was
Brackett,
waiting.
Mr. Wade, please.
Mr. Wade was
Let's chook
waiting.
mouth.
No.
Lead.
Okay.
Miss,
Thank you, Miss Fitz.
Madam Chair, if I
Go ahead,
may,
Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
I sit passionately and I listen to you speaking about the rich heritage of Belizean history. But I take it personal and I would like to put it beyond what you are saying. Our forefathers had fought that war, whatever they want to call it. I go beyond the Battle of St. Jadis Key to another fight that we had, fighting against the 17th proposal, Webster proposal,
Heads of
the
agreement.
21st of September 1981, where we became independent under the Commonwealth with a Westminster Constitution that says we have a right to live where we are to this day, in this country known as Belize. And I want to say that the ludicrous act of the past government to go and unconstitutionally amended our constitution for us to have a referendum to go to the ICJ when we should not be going to the ICJ. Our independence proves that we are the owners of this country. Nobody does not go to a court to prove they own something when you are independent. And when I listen to all these ludicrous statements that past and present government speak to put our people in fear and in denial of what the truth really is. The reason people, I sit here tonight virtually saying to you, please go back and read your history and go back and read the UNGA proposal that was given and read when Belize got its independence. I want you to know that there was only three countries that have seen Israel, Guatemala, and the United States. So the rest of the world recognizes. And I'm saying this to say that the same battle that was fought in 1798, we should be fighting today in 2024 to make sure that our
Bring her back, Leonard.
constitution,
You want to bring her back?
Uh,
our constitution, which is the
she's right there.
Thank
supreme,
you.
You're welcome.
our constitution, which is the supreme supremacy that govern us, will not be dismantled because of lies,
You turn it sideways, Sharon.
because of people wanted to give us what
Sharon.
they deem new identity.
Uh,
I sit here tonight to say
Hello.
that
Yes.
We heard you. Good.
I have listened to past and present government as well as Attorney
I
General
think I need to.
who has overstepped their bounds to align our country with foreign countries. And I want to say to the Belizean people, let's not be in denial. Because when we have Prime Minister like this that cannot take care of external, including internal policy, we need to keep them in a second balance.
And now turning our attention to one of our top stories. Not even a month after the Prime Minister's visit to Guatemala, there have been two reported incidents in the Sarstoon involving aggression by the GAF, which was on the Belize side of the Sarstoon in both incidents. We asked the Prime Minister if he felt the discussions between himself and the President were undermined by these very aggressive maneuvers. He explained that Belize is standing its ground, but stressed that Will Mejia and the BTV need to be more careful.
The military people on both sides, they are very ramrod, they're straight, and in their minds, they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We know for a fact that they are wrong, but we need to stand our ground, and we've been standing our ground, but also with some sort of caution. And right, I mean, Will and I are personal friends, like brothers, and I urge him caution. I mean, because one of these days somebody might just pull that trigger, and then God forbid, what are we to do? Shoot back? We're 1,000 soldiers. There are about 15,000 soldiers. I mean, we need to be reality. We have to look at reality. Yes, we stand our ground, we defend our, but we need to use our international partners to help us. And we're using the legal process. We are at the ICJ, and there's everything.
With respect, Mr. Brackett, I just want to say, right? Understand the trick and the betrayal. Who goes with the Prime Minister to speak with any leader there? Who is watching him? Discussions, words said on the cocktail circuit have legal sanctity, could affect your country. The Island Declaration, IHLEN. Apart from that, you do not chide your people for protecting your country. You laud them. And not condescend to say that you're friend. But
Well said,
most
Madam Chair.
importantly, the pattern of betrayal is the same. What I want to say is that we must recognize and call out that from the mid 1940s, when that mid surface, what you see right now is, you see, he talk about amount of people and so on, talk weakness, trying to chide people, frighten people. Have you ever heard of what is called a war of attrition? This is when people want to break your
Madam
resolve,
Chair,
your strength, your resilience. When people want to cut diamond and stone, they use water. But what they're doing is this war of attrition. They have gone straight and attacked the most crucial part of our history. Our rightness to belong here as a country and as a people with one identity already forged from the Battle of St. George's Sea, Belizean. So this war of attrition,
Listen,
the calling of the Battle of St. George's Key, anything other than the derision, all these things from 1943 is an ongoing war of attrition. And this is what our people must stand up against and realize. They're not funding, they're
but
taking away the music, the media always going, if somebody else has some other parade, nobody goes out and say, oh, me Pilinki. But they always try to denigrate and deride, take away the resources, take away the music. But as we have said, it's a with greater far. And Mr. Wade, the flame, you have to keep the candle lit. And they can't take this out of our people because it runs through our blood and our veins. So I have no fear for them. But we have to call out this war of attrition.
but
And then as
Madam
chairperson,
Chair,
I just want to say, Mr. Brackett, let us spend a few minutes talking about our 10 traditions. Some of the fun things because we have to celebrate. They can't take for we spirit way. They're not rob for we exuberance and joy. Mr. Leonard?
Madam Chair, uh,
I,
I would
I
like to
just
say,
wanted to indicate by saying, Madam Chair,
okay,
that
sorry.
when the Prime Minister spoke about international partners, I wanted to put a check and balance there to remind him we are Commonwealth. That is our international partners.
Yes.
So let's
Greg,
not forget that.
Greg,
We
Back to you.
have a
Madam Chair, Madam
constitutional
Chair,
democracy,
Madam,
Westminster parliamentary style, foremost in the world. Even America has all the foundations of that. Rule of law, that's what sets us apart. We have a defense guarantee at the United Nations.
Madam Chair,
At the United Nations.
Ms. Pitts,
Yes, sir,
can,
Mr. Leonard.
can I proceed then? Can I go ahead
Yes, please.
ask me just now? I want to say this to my Belizean people, to the Prime Minister, all our other minister, to our Commissioner of Police, all our police officers, our Defense Minister, and our defense personnel. Do not be cowered into a corner unless you really do not know what MAD stands for. That is that the Guatemalans are aggressing our people with guns in hands, fingers on the trigger, and they think they have the edge. Unfortunately, that's the way bullies react when they don't even know that they are at the end of the barrel of a bigger gun than the ones that they are holding. I did not go to learn and study in the United States anything that had to do with nuclear weapons, intercontinental ballistic missiles, one of which can be launched to knock out 10 cities, any part of the world. I, Leonard Brackett, was awarded by the United States government for having participated in those endeavors. Okay? So let it be known by those puny Guatemalan soldiers who are bullying our unarmed and defenseless people that if they persist with their attitude and think that because they got a bigger population than us and a bigger army than us and a much more well-financed army than us, and that they think that they know enough about Belize, even though our government doesn't know what they're supposed to know because they're not trustworthy enough to be allowed to know that our defense are much more substantive than is generally known. But when the Guatemalans decide to make that tragic mistake, they will have to confront the reality of their bullying. Because as Israel as an example, for example, is not aggressed by the Arab nations in their vicinity, which they could have done many a times over and over and over, but to their own demise as well. So Guatemala needs to, at some point in time, be aware that there are 15 million people in Guatemala can be hurt substantively. Their military can invade us, and they will end up going back to a Guatemala that they will not recognize. Because if they don't know, they need to ask the CIA or any other military attaché from the Southern Command that could facilitate them and tell them what a dirty bomb consists of and how easy it is to have the whole of their capital be put in a situation where for thousands of years in the future they will not even dare going back to. And I'll leave that at that for right now.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, you have you are at 128. You wanna?
Okay, I was hoping we could mention some of the 10 traditions, like, you're bringing the tent, your drum. People used to, the Abel's
Madam Chair,
March.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
we can add another 10 minutes to the show to
Okay,
facilitate that
good. So
continuous
can we share
discussion.
some fond memories of tent and ongoing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I could share some fun moments.
As in the first 10,
Gentlemen, I want
Mr.
to
Wade,
say, I will share this one with you looking through the eyes of my camera.
Greg, just a
I
second.
saw Madam Chair
Yes,
dancing in
but
the
Greg,
street,
just a second.
waving her flag to a tent
Yes,
celebration.
Greg.
1 minute, please, Mr. Greg. Mr. Leonard wants to say something before you share that.
Right, that's what I was trying to get him to.
Yes.
Mr. Wade was one of the persons that dealt with the flag on our first Independence Day celebration, and out of just due basic committee and respect and consideration as well, since Madam Chair had been asking Mr. Wade to contribute, and myself and Greg have been jumping in oftenly and not allowing Mr. Wade, I thought we should just give him the first day on this because we want to start off where it began, on Independence Day, 21st of September, 1981. Take it away, Mr. Wade.
Thank you.
With your permission, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is fun moments for me, but with all in all, it breaks my heart to see, how, our system have us where we at right now, and trying to water down patriotism and real, celebratory moments. As a young member of the security forces back in the 70s, I was a very slick dresser and very good on parade. And I was one of the servicemen that always take a wreath at Memorial Park and deliver to Honorable C.L.B. Rogers. I'm taking you back, Mr. Man, that you say, tent is a myth, and for the news anchor and for the ministers of government and all, I don't know who trying to do away with our culture, our heritage, our patriotism. In my book, we don't have no guts, no balls, right? Doing the things that you guys are doing. For what? But anyway, undermining patriotic Belizeans. I was one of those young Belizeans serving my country, offering a wreath on this celebratory moment to Honorable C.L.B. Rogers. There are times that I offer it to George Price, Prime Minister of the country at the time, Roody Wade. Yes, very slick dresser, very good on parade. So I was chosen, right? So when you come with all these things, man, it breaks my heart, right? To say that, these things that we are celebrating did not exist, right? Man, so wrong. So wrong. Need Miss Spitz just read out, history, right? learn something, man, before you go up publicly and utter this venom that comes out that you know nothing about. So if you don't know nothing about, why on earth would you go and speak on something that you don't know about? You will look like a fool, right? And then, it hurts me, to see all this happening and to see that there are a lot of us patriotic people, like Leonard just mentioned. I was one of the 4 soldiers on September 1981 at 12 o'clock night on that parade, lower that British flag and replace the Belize flag, Mr. Kawich. And
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Ministers were don't want us to celebrate the way we should celebrate, man. I don't want to be forthcoming to the Belizean people. Why? I don't know.
Guatemalan
But,
apologies. Foreign
but
agents.
And but for the Battle of St. George's Key, we would not have come to an independence.
Exactly. As that Salvatore moment, Miss Space, and fun moments, those are fun moments to me as a young man. Okay?
And I remember, I just want to share this quickly before we go back to Mr. Greg. Miss Leela Vernon, Queen of Creole, Belize Creole, Borough broke down. Have a song where you sing, Mr. Wade. I don't want to listen to it by independence. I don't remember the whole of it. But it's about when the Union Jack dropped and the Belize flag high on top. So I dedicate that to you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Greg.
So those were fun moments for me, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Right? Thank you.
And one
Mr.
more
Greg?
thing. One more bit before. When 1978, when 77, when Guatemala came over and took over possession of our custom immigration, I was
tried.
Yes, they already did. I was dug in 300 yards away from that border, along with the British, and the first time the Harrier came, and tanks ready to die for my country. Okay, and I'll do it all over again if I have to. My country a birth. So it hurts me. My audience here, right? It hurts me to hear when these people say these things, man. Okay. So,
especially when the Premier said that we have to be cautious because we only have 1,000 soldiers. Before that, they said we had less than enough bullets to fight for one.
Make I tell you something.
Just
play Lord Laura song because better we send Lord Laura. Better we send Lord Laura. Listen and say the right thing. Tell Guatemala leave Belize alone. We're independent and we must tell them respect our dignity, our right to live independently with one heart.
Did he do that?
We want Prime Minister
Did he do that?
Have the fortitude to
and he said, better we send Lord Laura.
Exactly.
Mr. Greg.
Greg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But since you want to go that road, let me give the Belizean people at home and abroad a little something.
And this a shamrock, we coming down, we run the town. We tired of this claiming from Guatemala. We tired of this fighting with Guatemala. We tired of this claiming from Guatemala. We tired of this fighting with Guatemala. This is a serious problem with the borderline from 1859. Belize we had a treaty signed. It has been disrespectful. They want to take over we water, trespassing in our jungle. They shoot through our soldier. Border to border, Belize and Guatemala. Border to border, we need peace and order.
I leave it at that, Madam. Back to you.
Go to the 10 thing there, man. Mr. Brackett, you said you had some footage. Please, Mr. Greg,
no,
from the 10th parade.
You had asked for us to send you one copy of pictures with you, but we had only seen it on the TV, no?
Oh.
We had actual pictures of
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I didn't get a chance to respond to outside of the program, but within the context of the program, no, I just want to clarify that.
Your mic is off, Greg. I mean, your mic is on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we could close
Greg.
within the
I was
next 2 minutes.
saying, thank
We
you,
could close
Mr.
off
Wade.
within the
I
next
was
2 minutes,
saying, Madam
please.
Chair, looking through the eyes of my camera, I can see you coming down the corner, enjoying the tradition of St. Parade, dancing in the street. It was a wonderful sight. I will send those pictures to you, as well as Belizean Americans who were home to celebrate our St. celebration.
Uh,
So
Thanks for
regardless of what they
documenting the
want
Greg,
joy
on
and exuberance.
Greg, we have less than 30 seconds remaining. Madam Chair, could you ask Greg to close us off, please?
Close us off,
Close
Madam
of
Chair.
us, please. I was born the 10th June, exactly 9 months after 10th of September. My first parade in my mom's arm, I was 3 months. I had a 10th of September baby.
Greg, Greg, could you take us off?
Greg, please, you
yes,
can close us off, please.
thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to say during the St. celebration, I wish the Belizean people at home and abroad a good holiday coming
And
into our independence.
uh,
It
we will
is,
get back to our people who call in
it
or
is
who
most
are.
important for us to understand in order to keep our independence, we must keep our constitution alive. That is the only way we
Beautiful,
can
important.
remain an independent country.
Greg, and thanks to our
So
viewers.
take it over, Mr. Wade, as
Thanks to our
usual.
viewers who view us, and I hope you enjoy our chair lady for tonight. You know what she brought to the table, and educate us, Mr. Politicians. Hope you got educated. And on that note, continue to support us, and it's always a pleasure for those who view us, support us, share our programs, right? From the heart. It's always a pleasure. And tune in to us on
Monday.
Monday. And I hope we could get Madam Chair again with us, since we are in this
I will try.
legendary moment. It's
Yes.
always
Thank you all very much. Thanks, Belizeans.
Nice
And
speaking.
thanks
God
for
bless.
you gentlemen for your patience and the listeners. And sorry we didn't get to comment and on feedback, but that you listen is very crucial. Continue to pray and watch over Belize by the grace of God. God watch over Belize, right?
Yes,
Amen.
Madam
For our
Chair, as
children
you
for the next 10,000 years and beyond, for posterity, we will hold on to this country, cherished country.
Amen. Amen.
Madam
Amen.
Chair, I'm working on something. As you know, I am very inclined with computers and stuff. So I'm working on a program where people can actually call in and call and give their opinion or ask questions live. I'm halfway putting it together. I think it will be of, most interest to us. So that is what
That would be
I'm
nice.
working on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great
With that
news.
said,
Thank
I
you very
would
much,
like
and
to
that's good
say
night.
good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad, and thank you for tuning in to this 194th edition of Belizean Affairs. And please continue to enjoy the celebration as we move into our
We're heading into a
independence
we're heading into
celebration.
a 200 program, and definitely for the 200 program, we're hoping to have something
Right.
on a different, on a
With
more
that said, I would like to
realistic
say good night.
scale. Good night.